Hi, my name is Kathleen Hamilton, and I am the author of the book Terralepus and the series. And today I am going to read from Terralepus Cora's Dilemma, which is illustrated by Brian A. Beecroft. And basically, uh, it's a story about Cora Duncan. She's a twin daughter of Max and Jackie. She doesn't know what to do about her friend Greg Evans, who keeps showing up at her house in the middle of the night. His mother, Dolores, forbids him from having any friends, and he keeps over. She doesn't want him to have friends over at the house, and he keeps getting into trouble for sneaking out of his house. Then an alien hedgehog comes to Terralepus from the future into the present time in search of a wormhole in which he can travel through into the past. His mission is to kill Jackie before she gets married to Max and has children, most of whom will save their universe full of planets from the harvest of the oncoming Elsidian troops. Alright. So I'm going to read chapter 7. The next morning, Jackie woke up to the sound of the rain falling hard against their window. She got up and walked over to look out. A flash of light and the momentary sound of thunder could be heard. She loved the sound of rain. Jackie lay back down in bed and listened. Then she heard the ping of hail on the roof. Max, who had awoken, sat up in bed along with Jackie. The door to their room opened up, and Trixie and Lily stood there. "Mom," said Trixie, "the sky doesn't look right." Jackie's eyes widened. "Go down to the basement with your sister," she called. Max grabbed his glasses and ran to the boys' room as Jackie ran to Cora and Cassandra's room. "Girls, get up. Basement now," she yelled. Cora, Cassandra, Bethany, and Morgan jumped up and ran down the hall. Thomas and Sam followed. They ran down the steps and into the basement. Max and Jackie were last. Their ears started popping and the walls started throbbing. The windows popped and shattered, and Jackie felt herself being pulled back. She shut the basement door with force and continued down. Jackie lay on top of 4 of her children as Max had the other 4 under him. They listened to the wind whistle as they heard creaking and groaning and finally snapping. The children whimpered along with Max and Jackie as they felt the wind blow through the ever-widening cracks of the floor above them. Then silence. Silence only broken by the occasional sound of thunder in the distance. Max stood up and walked over to the door. He looked up through the floorboards and saw the clouds racing by. He looked back at his wife and children huddled up against the wall. Max pushed and pushed on the basement door until he could get it partially open. He slipped out and started pulling boards away from the basement. He stopped and looked into his backyard. There, his house lay in a million pieces of wood, clothing, and furniture. Max looked around and saw the floor to his living room covered in leaves and debris. "Jackie, come out," called Max, his voice growing hoarse from emotion. A van sped up to his house, followed by a police car. Hershey jumped out and ran over to Max. "Max, where is everyone?" The officers jumped out of their vehicle and ran over. They started moving boards and debris until the children were able to come out of the basement. Hershey grabbed his girls and started to cry. Bethany and Morgan hugged their father tight. Max hugged his children as Jackie came out of the basement. She looked pale and was staggering. "I can't breathe," she gasped. Max grabbed her and saw that her back had been penetrated by a sharp object and that she was bleeding. An ambulance and a fire truck pulled up behind the police car. "Hershey, watch my children. I've got to take her to the hospital." "I will," replied Hershey. Max carried Jackie over to the ambulance and the crew pulled her in. Max jumped in and they sped off towards the hospital. "She has a pneumothorax on the left lower lobe on her posterior side," said Max, grabbing a tube of petroleum jelly and some gauze. "I need a needle." He pulled the sharp object out of her back as she grabbed the sides of the gurney. Max quickly slapped the gauze covered in petroleum jelly over the hole. He took the needle and he swabbed her back with alcohol. Hold still, Jackie. He inserted the needle between her ribs and into the air pocket that had developed in her chest. He pulled out air. He continued until he saw Jackie start to slow down on her breathing. The ambulance arrived at the Honeyville General Hospital and they rolled Jackie in. Max followed her until one of the surgeons on call took over. Max stood at the door for a moment and then collapsed to the floor in a fury of tears and sobs. One of the nurses came over to help him up and brought him to the waiting room. After a while, Max was called back to a room, and there he saw Jackie looking at him. She reached out to him and he grabbed her paw. Max carefully held her paw so not to bother the needle that had been inserted into her arm. "Max, are the kids okay?" she asked. Max nodded. "Don't cry, Max. Don't cry. I'm still alive, see?" said Jackie, speaking softly. Max sat down next to her and placed his head on the bed. He softly sobbed. Max looked up after a few moments. "I don't care about the house or the van," he said. "It would kill me to lose you or the kids." Jackie ran her fingers through his hair as he cried. "We'll start over," she said. A tear rolled down her face. Max stayed by her side for a couple of hours. Max's father, Doug, came to see Jackie. When it was time to go, Max left his wife, and his father took him to Hershey's house. Max embraced his children. They were scared, but glad to see him. "How's Mom?" asked Cassandra, a worried look on her face. "Mom's resting right now," replied Max to his children. "When she gets better, we'll be able to bring her back home." "I miss Mommy," cried Lily, as she clung to her father. "She misses you too," replied Max, a tear forming in his eye. "Max," his father said, "I know this is probably not the best time, but I need to help you get another van. You need it." Max nodded. He said goodbye to his children, and they went to the insurance office. For the next few days, Max and the children stayed at Hershey and Jasmine's house. He was able to get Jackie another van and get himself another car, since both had been tossed and rolled in the field behind their house. Jasmine took Max and the kids shopping, where Max had to buy them new clothes and clothes for himself and his wife. Max took the children to see their mother at the hospital every day. Jackie grew stronger each day and was glad to see them. She counted the days until she could go home, except there was nothing to go to. Max worked hard on that. He soon had someone to help to clear the debris, and the insurance was soon able to cover the cost of rebuilding the home. Between work, checking on his house, and taking care of his children, Max was tired. But it was worth it when Jackie was able to walk out of the hospital. Max softly embraced her and opened the van door. She stepped into a chorus of "Mommy," and she smiled. They drove by their house, and Jackie looked at the construction. It was just a frame at the moment. She put her paw over her mouth as she thought back to the day. Jackie leaned back inside. Max grabbed her paw as they drove. He was only too happy to have her back. At school, friends of the Duncan children came up to them and were glad that they were okay. Greg ran over and hugged Cora. "I was so scared when I went to check on you. Your house was gone and I didn't know where you were," he said, tearing up. "We're okay," said Cora. "Mom's okay too." Cora told him what had happened to her mother. "I'm sorry that happened to your mom," said Greg. "From what I heard, your house was a direct hit. Everyone else had roof damage or lost a barn or a small building." Cora looked down. "I know you can replace houses and cars, but it's still pretty sad." Greg put his arm around her shoulder and walked her to class. "It's going to be okay," he said. Jackie pulled up into the parking lot at the Aeronautical Space and Exploration Center. She looked at the buildings inside, a familiar sight that helped her to feel normal again. She got out of her van and walked in. Everyone was standing outside of their office doors and watching as Jackie passed by. She said hi to everyone and kept walking. When Jackie got to her classroom, Commander Lincoln was standing there. Hershey and Jasmine were peeking out of Hershey's office. "Good morning, Captain Jackie," said Commander Lincoln. "Good morning, Commander Lincoln," she replied. I'm glad you were able to make it back to work with us, started Commander Lincoln. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. I wanted to discuss something with you. You've been with us for the past 22 years, and you've achieved the status of captain, which you have held well for years. Jackie nodded. I'm going to retire in a year, and your name has been selected to take my position as commander. I want you to consider this, he said. Jackie stood there taking it in. I've considered it, sir, and I'd be proud to take your position. You're positive? Asked Commander Lincoln. Yes, sir, she replied. Very good. Meet me in my office in half an hour, and we'll discuss your training, replied Commander Lincoln. He walked down the hall, and Jackie watched until he went into his office. A flurry of congratulations went up from everyone who was watching. Jackie couldn't contain her excitement. Everyone went back to work. In half an hour, Jackie was in Commander Lincoln's office, listening to him explain some of her responsibilities. A call came in for Commander Lincoln. Commander, we have a visiting ship from planet Zorion. They are requesting permission to land. Permission granted, replied Commander Lincoln. Let's go see our visitors, shall we, Captain? Yes, sir, replied Jackie, standing up from her chair. They walked down the hallway and went outside to watch the spaceship land on their landing strip. As Commander Lincoln and Captain Jackie walked over to the ship, the door opened, and out stepped Sergeant Leopold and some of his crew members. Sergeant Leopold, cried Jackie, it's so good to see you. Sergeant Leopold smiled. Greeting, captains. Captain, I am glad to see you as well. Sergeant Leopold saluted, and Captain Jackie and Commander Lincoln saluted back. So what brings you here, Sergeant? Asked Jackie as they started walking back towards the building. I understand from the reports we've been receiving that you have had a future visitor come back and try to interfere with the past. Since there is to be a future war, sad to say, it has also come to my attention that Lily was considered the main target in Captain Ty's mission. Jackie nodded her head. Apparently, Lily has more of a connection with that stone than you do, said Leopold, looking at Jackie. Jackie grabbed the stone and shyly looked up at Leopold. What do you mean? You needed Max to use it properly. Your emotions were tied into Max, and I showed Max how to use some of the power. But Lily has a different feel for it. In fact, she's the one that helped defeat the Ionian monster. The two of you were not strong enough to do it. Jackie looked up at him wide-eyed. But she wasn't even born yet. And that's small but so powerful. She will help save the world. Leopold looked down at Jackie, who remained contemplative for a moment. I'm here to help train Lily how to use the stone, said Leopold, if she wants me to. All right, I'll let you talk to her, said Jackie, as they entered the building. Hey, Jackie, said Hershey. He looked over at Sergeant Leopold. Hi, long time no see, Hershey said, putting his paw out to shake Leopold's paw. Jackie, do you want to look at the machine now? I've gone through the machine and written a detailed report on it, but I thought you'd like to see it. Jackie looked at Commander Lincoln and Sergeant Leopold. Come on, said Commander Lincoln. I'd like to see this for myself. They walked over to another building where the machine was being kept. It stood tall on its four mechanized legs. Hershey climbed the ladder, and Jackie, Lincoln, and Leopold followed him up. Inside, they saw a chair in front of a computer screen and a control panel. Hershey flipped some of the switches on. The panel lit up, and they could see all around the outside of the machine on the computer screen. Hershey closed the door. Grab a seat, he said, pointing to the extra seats towards the rear. He started the engine, and it made a strange humming noise. Hershey moved the handle on the controls, and the legs started to move forward. He walked the machine around the base. Then he flipped another switch, and the machine started rising from the ground by its use of jet propulsion. After Hershey landed the machine, he flipped another switch, and the machine rolled up into a ball and started to roll like a gyrosphere. The inside of the machine did not move with the outer part of the machine. After Hershey stopped the machine, he showed them how Ty was transmitting information back to his planet in the future. They listened to the future aliens trying to communicate with Captain Ty. Everyone stayed silent as they listened. He then showed them how the machine performed other functions, and then finally opened up its engine to explain in detail how it worked. When they were finished, Hershey locked up the machine and they went back into the other building. By now, it was lunchtime, and Sergeant Leopold and his crew were invited to lunch. Hershey told Leopold about his family and how they were keeping the Duncan family until they could get their house built. After lunch, Captain Jackie and Commander Lincoln went to the research laboratory where the alien spacesuit had been examined. On the suit was a button. If pressed, it would cause the suit to become invisible. It was light and flexible, silver-colored, due to the material used to bend light and cause one to not be seen. The communicator on the suit was turned off, so it could not be located. The laser gun was a bit advanced and made out of a foreign metal. The laser gun was disabled, so it would not work anymore. Soon it was time to go home. Jackie brought Leopold to her van, and Jackie drove down the road to Hershey and Jasmine's house. There, the children were waiting for their parents. When they saw Sergeant Leopold, they stared. "How many of these are yours?" asked Leopold. "These 6, said Jackie, motioning to her children. "The other 3 are Hershey and Jasmine's children." "Very beautiful," he replied. "All of you have done well." "Lily," called Jackie, "this is Sergeant Leopold." Lily stepped forward. "Hi," she said, waving at him. "Hello, Lily. Your mom told me that you flew to the ceiling," said Leopold. "Yes, that was fun. Mommy and Daddy were hanging from my feet and swinging," she said, giggling. Leopold smiled. "How would you like to learn how to go up and down?" Lily looked at her mom. Jackie shook her head yes. "Yes, please," she said. Leopold took the necklace off of Jackie's neck and placed it around Lily's neck. She started to float up. "Are you happy?" he asked. "Yes, I am," she said, going higher. "Think of cleaning your room," he replied. "That's not fun," she said, coming down. "But what if you find your doll?" he said. Lily dropped into Leopold's arms. "My dolls are gone," she said, whimpering. "Oh dear, sorry, I forgot," said Leopold. "What if you found a new doll sitting on the porch and it was for you?" "That would be nice," she said, starting to float again. "Lily," said Leopold, "you can control how high you go with your emotions, but you will have to learn how to control them so you can come up and down." Lily nodded. "Look," she said, pointing to the road. "Here comes Daddy." A sudden rush of air headed from Lily to her dad's car. The car slowed down and shook. "Oh no," said Leopold. "Lily, come down this instant." She dropped back down into Leopold's arms and he took the necklace off. "I think that's enough for today," he said. Max opened the door to his car and stepped out wide-eyed. "What the heck was that?" he asked. "That was Lily," replied Jackie. "She was just excited to see you, that's all." "She had the necklace on?" asked Max. Then he saw Sergeant Leopold. He said partially to himself. He walked over and extended his paw to Leopold. "Good to see you. Did you teach her that new trick?" "No," replied Leopold. "She's just a natural at it." "Yeesh," replied Max. "I don't know if my insurance will be able to handle any more surprises." Max walked up to his wife and embraced her, kissing her to the ooze of now 9 children who scattered and disappeared. Leopold chuckled as he watched Jackie and Max rise up and hit the porch roof. "You're just a natural too, Max." Max rubbed his head and they went inside. There, Leopold saw an air mattress on the floor of the living room and 8 boxes of clothes, lined up next to one another. The children had gone to the rooms to do their homework, and Max went to help the children study. Jackie went to the kitchen and started preparing dinner with Jasmine. Leopold sat down in the kitchen and watched. "Hello, Leopold," said Jasmine. "I bet you never saw so many rabbits piled up in one house before." "No," he replied. "Well, Cora and Cassandra are sharing a room with Bethany. Thomas and Sam are sharing a room with Timothy, and Trixie and Lily are sharing a room with Morgan. Max and Jackie have the living room with everyone's clothes and school supplies." Jasmine paused. "They're hoping to have their house finished, but it might be a few months." Leopold nodded and looked around. The table fed 8. There were 13 of them. He watched Jackie work hard, as if to compensate for them being there. Soon they called 8 of the children to the table. Cassandra had to wait until one left before she could sit down. She soon got her turn. When the children left the table, Jackie and Jasmine cleared it, and the adults were able to sit down and eat. After dinner, Leopold offered to wash the dishes. "All of them?" said Jackie, with Jasmine looking on. "Yes," he replied. He started washing them as Jackie and Jasmine disappeared to get their children ready for bed. An hour and a half later, he emerged from the kitchen. The children were in bed, the adults outside on the porch. Jasmine and Hershey were on the swing, and Max and Jackie were sitting on a bench leaning up against the house. Leopold joined them outside. All was quiet. "You know what I miss?" said Max. "My guitar." "I miss it too," replied Hershey. "You used to pluck some good sound out of it." Jackie leaned against Max. He had his arm around her. "Well, good night, folks. I'm going to sleep," said Max, standing and helping Jackie up. After they went inside, Hershey offered Leopold a cot in a small room that they had, an office of theirs. Hershey went to the basement to get the cot, and he set it up in the office. Jasmine brought him a pillow, and Leopold thanked her before they left him alone. Leopold looked out his door before closing it. He could see Max and Jackie lying on the air mattress talking quietly. Max had his arm around her, and soon they became quiet. Leopold could see how hard this was on both families, especially Max and Jackie's family. He shut the door and went to sleep. All right, hope you enjoyed it. And the books, Terralepus and the series, are available at Amazon.com. You can also go to my website, which is www.terralepus.com. And Terralepus is also available on Facebook. Anyway, thank you, and see you in the stars.